case then for this development. This is a small scale development which is, represents a reprocessing of mine spoil waste to extract tungsten within the Tamar Valley. Now, we believe that this development is totally in keeping with the landscape and character of the Tamar Valley. We do not believe that this small-scale reprocessing of existing spoil heaps on the site represents a major impact to either public access to the site or indeed the mining heritage.
The first point I'd like to make is that West Devon Borough Council Planning Authority have considered at great length of the application for this mineral extraction project at Devon Great Consols. And we turned down, or we refused planning permission only after consideration of the planning guidance and, in particular, a rigorous examination of the cultural, the landscape, the pollution, ecological, noise and socio-economic issues. From a planning point of view, mineral processing development is in contravention of the mineral processing policies, MP2, MP3, amongst others, which state categorically the mineral processing may only occur in ANOBs in exceptional circumstances. And we've not been persuaded that the proposed development should be considered exceptional circumstance.
Would you now like to call your witnesses?
Can you explain why the site has the status that it does have?
Well, there's quite a few reasons. It's obviously a really important heritage site because of the mining activities that went on there, and there's many sort of representations in the landscape that sort of remind us of these activities, such as the listed buildings that are there. So the arsenic works, the calciners, the flues, the chimney, they're all grade 2 listed buildings.
And what, if any of those things that you've mentioned there, the flues, the listed buildings, were to be impacted on by any sort of development, what do you think the consequence of that would be for the status that the site has achieved?
Well, I think they are one of the main reasons that it's designated, so it would decrease the value of the site dramatically, because it's quite a big sort of attraction for people coming to visit them. There's quite a nice walkway, you can see all the buildings, and if they were to be impacted in any way, it would definitely decrease the value of the site quite significantly.
Mr. Dunstan, you were talking about the character of the area, and in particular the site. It's fair to say it was a mine, it has a mining character because it was a mine before. The proposed development involves mining, does it not?
Yes.
Could you explain why, if it was a mine before and it's going to continue to be a mine, then the character hasn't changed, has it?
Under the World Heritage status and the management plan which has been put in place by the Tamar Valley Partnership is that it is for a historic mining landscape. Historic being the optimum word, in that there will be no development because it will change the landscape to a current mining landscape, which will alter both the history of it as well as the landscape.
The increase in phosphorus will increase the uptake of phosphorus by any vegetation that's put on site and into the soil and into the compounds that arsenic creates. So there'll be actually more mobile and less soluble arsenic within the soils, which can be pushed through percolation. So the addition of things like geotextiles and hydroseeding and any sort of vegetation will actually increase the availability of arsenic into the soil.
And have you got evidence to demonstrate?
Yes, I have. That is from Lumpkin and Alloway 2002 and KSL 2006, Reynard 2001, all show, including Devon Great Consols, that the addition of any phosphorus-based organic material increases both the pH of the soil, which increases the bioaccessibility of arsenic. It increases the level of phosphorus uptake by the soil, which increases the availability of arsenic, which any that's taken through the soil, which will still happen with geotextiles, will go straight into the waterways, into the sediment ponds, and create high risk.
Okay, thank you.
And the level of increase that the site is likely to create in noise, are there any legislative guidelines as to sort of how appropriate that is, or to how much consideration you should give to that?
Yeah, I believe it will sort of contravene the legislation within section 2.9 of the Minerals policy statement 2, Annex 2, stating that the planning authority should aim to establish a noise that does not exceed background levels by more than 10 decibels at the noise-sensitive properties, which I believe it would.
So in your opinion, it would exceed the 10 decibels that are allowed?
Yes, which would then be considered a substantial impact.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's it, going against the current legislation.
And to any of these businesses that use the tourism and recreation of the site, do any of them actually go onto the site itself?
Yeah, I should say that the cycling club would definitely use the site itself. I think there's a map here with some cycling paths that actually cross through the site.
And how important was it to your decision-making process that the site, rather than just being sort of an ordinary mining site in the middle of the Devon countryside, that it is an area of outstanding natural beauty?
That does play a role, but there are other facts, including one of the spoil heats is a geological SSSI.
Impacts will the geotextiles have on pollution in the area?
Okay, so the addition of, or the increase in pH does have a relationship with the mobility of arsenic. However, our geotextiles and restoration suggestions, as in our environmental statement, propose geotextiles just to cover the edges of the mine spoil heaps, i.e. the slopes where the instability comes from.
We've heard that the site is currently deteriorating for different reasons. What might be the effect of that on the designations?
Okay, so the site is currently in a degrading condition, as you stated there. Here we've got images of the spoil heaps, and I think you've actually seen this already this morning, showing an increased erosion of roughly 1 metre between October 2012 and January 2013. Yeah, you've seen it already. Okay, and although the picture isn't of great quality, this is the top spoil heap, which also shows degradation, which is over such a short period of time that the proposed restoration should actually increase the current World Heritage significance rather than deteriorate it, because the current condition isn't supporting the World Heritage Management Plan or the local, we've got it here, it's the Westborough Devon Council Framework Core Strategy. West Devon Borough Council Local Development Framework Core Strategy. The Strategic Policy 18 for heritage and historic character of West Devon, sections A and B both refer to local councils' obligations to where appropriate and possible enhance historic features to retain locally distinctive features and integrity of industrial infrastructure. Now, our proposed mitigation plans and restoration plans actually aim to increase the integrity and value of these structures and components which contribute to the historic significance of the site.
In terms of mining policy and development, are there any provisions that allow for further development of a mining site?
Yes, in the World Heritage Site Management Plan for 2013 to 18, it states that this was a mining. The reason why this area got its UNESCO status was because they knew that it could be further opened up for further mining at the time, but they didn't have the technology available at the time to reprocess that tungsten. To be honest, there's the whole aspect of funding. We could almost argue that this is a heritage site, that it could be listed as in danger. And the IUCN guidelines for financing protected areas says that ensuring effective management and securing financial resources are vital in protecting areas to continue to provide benefits. Financial resources are often a constraining factor, so private funding should be considered. And private funding for mining in a mining character area seems like a good option.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
And in terms of maintaining the heathland when it is there, you can't use grazing or burning to maintain it. If you're putting this heathland all over the spoils, it's going to be quite impractical to actually maintain that, isn't it, without using grazing or burning?
Well, using my Fortman paper again, who proposed a spring brush cut and application of specific herbicides to remove gorse and encroaching scrub, what we proposed additionally to that as a mitigative measure is public involvement. It's something we thought would be very important on the site. We're going to provide information to the public. We're holding community stakeholders. We're trying to involve as many people in the local area as we can, and through that, following our 10-year management plan for the heathland habitat, we're hoping to propose that a small team of local volunteers and people that we have got involved throughout the development of the site will then continue our work in basically, it will essentially be as a spring brush cut, removing any gorse scrubbing, like scrub species that would be growing.
In terms of, say for example, the foundations of the listed buildings, they could be affected by the vibrations, couldn't they?
The distance is too great. The attenuation of the vibrations over the distance means that there'd be no effect.
We would suggest that it is possible there would be an effect. And
how are you assessing?
That's the point, that no assessment has taken place. So you must agree that we would have to base our decision on the precautionary principle, that we don't know what's going to happen.
Usually for vibration during planning of a site of this nature, you use BS 5228 Part 2 vibration, which gives you the details of expected activities and the expected peak particle velocities.
My name is Noreen Jeffries and I'm a resident at number 3 Wheel Anna Maria Cottages, which is one of the cottages at the entrance to the site. I'm not here on my own behalf today. I'm here as a spokesperson for the Parish of Gulworthy Community Action Group, which is a subgroup of the Parish Council. We took a show of hands at our third meeting, and on balance, it came down, the feeling was there's more to gain than to lose with this development. So the opinion that I'm here to promote is that we're in favour of this development. Although we do not relish the thought of having live mining operations on the site, it's not for a long period of time, and we'll put up with short-term inconvenience for long-term gain is the attitude. We're taking a pragmatic approach to this.
My starting point as a decision maker in terms of my recommendation to the Secretary of State must be the development plan, and I have to determine this application in accordance with the provisions of the development plan, which in this case is clearly the National Planning Policy Framework and the Devon Minerals Local Plan. I've also taken account of the West Devon Local Development Framework Core Strategy. But I've also, as one is required to do, take account of other material considerations in this matter. I have listened to the submissions made by learned friends from both sides. There has been a very clear argument presented by the appellant that there are exceptional circumstances which apply in this case, particularly focusing upon the concerns which exist about the pollution which is being produced from the site, and emphasised by the impact of recent events of extreme weather, which points to a deteriorating situation on the site. I will recommend to the Secretary of State approval of this.
That will be subject to